Spiritist Education. This event has been organized by the Children, Youth, and Family area of the International Spiritist Council, aiming to strengthen the union and the unification of the Spiritist movement for the sake of heart's regeneration and the construction of the new world. The ISC Children, Youth, and Family area, affectionately called CYFA ISC, is responsible for promoting the study, practice, and dissemination of Spiritism among children, youth, and families. The CYFA ISC Commission is currently composed of 12 countries that are working together in an integrated, collaborative, and collective manner in order to put together important actions that we hope will strengthen this blessed and relevant task.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome, dear friends. My name is Cristiane Bertoso, and I am a Spiritist educator at the Spiritist Society of Ireland in Dublin, Ireland. In order to achieve our goals, it's essential for us to keep ourselves updated for this task, the Seeds of the Future project is one of AIJF ISC actions which purpose is continue education for Spiritist educators through video, lives, and workshops. We believe this is a strategy and relevant project for the increase of quality of our actions among children, youth, and families, whether physically at Spiritist institutions or virtually due to the pandemic situation we are facing these days. This is the third YouTube Live we are promoting, reducing boundaries and gathering dedicated hearts spread across the world, strengthening us in a common ideal.
Brazilian, but I live in Italy. I work as a volunteer in the CYFA staff. This is the third virtual meeting of a program to address different and relevant topics to strengthen this task continuously. Today's topic is the doctrinal zeal in the practice of Spiritist education, commitment to Jesus and Kardec. Each live will be developed in 3 different languages, English, Spanish, and Portuguese, in sequence on the same day. We have invited some dedicated colleagues who will share their reflections and experiences according to the different topics. Furthermore, to open our meeting, we would like to invite you to pray along with us, raising our thoughts to God, Jesus, and the spiritual benefactors who coordinate and inspire the Era of So in Love project. Chris, we can pray together.
Spiritual benefactors, be our guide and lead us on the right path. Help us to overcome obstacles that may come to our path. Whenever we find ourselves in darkness and despair, lift and show us the light. Give us courage and strength to continue carrying our mission with resignation, love. If we fall along the way, help us to get up and move on. Be with our brothers and sisters who are sick, with those who are feeling loneliness, depression, those with suicide thoughts, hungry, and those without a shelter to call it home. Please enlighten our speakers today and everyone attending this event now or will watch it later. So be it. Amen.
today's topic, we would like to show you 2 short videos in which some kids answer to the question, what is the importance of Spiritism in your life? Let's check their answers.
So, the importance of Spiritism in my life is a central one, because all the principles of Spiritism brings a lot of peace and a lot of understanding when it comes to obstacles of life, and also things that may seem unfair at first sight, but that, for example, reincarnation will explain to us that we are eternal souls, and that here in this lifetime we go through certain difficulties in order to grow, to learn how to love, to learn how to be more resilient. Spiritism also brought me the hope that if we ever lose a beloved one, we are going to be able to see them again, that our destiny is to love and to be better as a soul. So it is a very peaceful, and it's a message that gives us a lot of strength in general. And this is the importance of Spiritism for me.
Spiritism is a very important part of our lives. Spiritism has given us the tools that we need to face the challenges that we encounter every day.
Spiritism brings family and friends together. That is why Spiritism is important to us.
Okay, so now we are going to start, we are going to listen to Juliana Lazzari. Welcome, Juliana.
Yes, thank you very much for muting me. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. Thanks, Tatiana, Karina, and Chris for this lovely live and very enlightening. I'm honored to be here talking today. My name is Juliana, and I'm part of the Spiritist Society of Ireland with Chris. We are part of the Spiritist Education there. I also help with the Sunday speech as well, doing the lives. And well, enough about me. And also, well, sorry about that. Also, I'm part of the Sembradores de Luz, which is coming live, but it's a portal that we're gonna have all the information and resources for Spiritist education, and it's coming on 13th of June. Not that I'm advertising, but okay. So today we're going to talk about the doctrinal zeal in the practice of Spiritist education. I'm honored to be talking about this because as a mother and a Spiritist education, this is a really, really important subject for us. So it's an honor for me, and it's a learning for me as well to be talking here. So I'm very, very happy to be here. So just starting, let me get my mouse here and see if I can pass this over. Can I pass here? Now I'm connected. Oh, I found my mouse. So just before, I'd like to start with this lovely message from Mei Mei. Mei Mei is she's a spiritual guidance of the Spiritist educator in Brazil, and she helps a lot. And through her for work for Chico Xavier, Francisco Cândido Xavier. So a lot of her work it's psychographic with him. And she is, she focuses on the Spiritist education. So I'm going to start with this one because I find it beautiful. If you wish to see the world renewed with satiety and happy families, invest in the education of the new generations. And it's really important, because the new generations will transform. The new generations that, are the seed for the, for the future. And talking about this, starting with the new generation families and how we invest. Let's go to our next slide. Yes, I want to talk a little bit about today's context. Now, today's context, it's really it's really a challenge for everyone. We are living a singular moment of humanity. Planetary transitions taking us through our global transformation, leading us to make deepest reflection and forcing us to reconsider our values for the sake of our life on Earth, this impacts not only us, but especially our children, And as a Spiritist educator, either if you're a parent or the Spiritist, the teacher, the educator that teaches online or on the Spiritist centers all around the world, you have seen the transformation and how it's impacting directly, us and our children. We have to deal with a pandemic that is not the first one, probably is not going to be the last one, but it's making us rethink a lot how we deal with other people around us. We have global warming that's been going on, and it's going to keep. So it forced us to innovate, maybe reset. Anyway, but it's important, part of the zeal of the, for the Spiritist education is also knowing the context, So that's bringing a little bit resumed here, but it's important for us to be aware, not just to know and that's it. Now we have to bring this into context for us and for the children we will be educating. So the next step I want to bring is the importance of Spiritist teachings. Now, as human beings become enlightened in regard to the spiritual things, they attach less value to material things, as they free themselves from the shackles of matter. They reform the human institution that fosters selfishness. This is accomplished through education. So this is from the Spiritist book, question 914. Now, that's really the basic thing that the most basic thing, importance for the Spiritist teachings is tackle selfishness. We know as Spiritists that selfishness is the root of evil. Everything that doesn't, almost every bad behavior can be, rooted to selfishness. And this is because we are attached to matter. So Spiritist teaching is really important because it teaches us to be less, attached to matter. It teaches us there's a spiritual world, there's reincarnation, where we learn, like you have seen on the videos for the children, how to deal with life, things of life that's not matter. Because matter stays here, our spirits, our life is actually forever when we remove the material things we have here on Earth, So it's really important, and this will I'm gonna bring with how these things it's gonna also help with the zeal on the Spiritist teachings. It's still on the same subject. I would like to bring this question 917, just extract. It's actually the answer. No. When Spiritism is properly understood and identified with beliefs and habits of humankind, it will transform your customs, traditions, and social relations. That is the other, the other important topic for the Spiritist teachings. We know we have to tackle selfishness, but we cannot just, tell ourselves, respond, or, from our mouth to outside. It has to come within ourselves. It has to be a transformation from ourselves, so we can. And when we properly understand the Spiritism, we will transform our customs, our habits. We will be an example, living example. Well, at least that's what we want to. Of course, we have many throughout many incarnations and reincarnations, and we perfect ourselves. So it's not something that, after a while you're gonna be perfect. No. But we always working. That's the important things. We always working for this transformation. It's a continuous process. And it's important we bring this to our classrooms, or in our life, because our kids, they going to, whether if your kid, your siblings, or just pupils of the Spiritist education, they will learn with your example, not what you say. So you can say nice things, you can say beautiful things, but if you're not the example, you cannot teach properly. They will learn, and who has kids knows that they always learn that part. And I'm not saying that to be a Spiritist teacher, to teach children, you need to be perfect, because it wouldn't be. Jesus is the only perfect example we had on earth, so we are nowhere near him. So, but we have to try. We have to, to have the interest and become much more, turn to ourselves and work on our self development. And I mean, like our spiritual development. Now, tackling the importance, I would like to bring this. So we talked about the context of the world nowadays, the importance of the Spiritist teachings, tackle selfishness. Now we're gonna bring what this has to be with the zeal with the Spiritist doctrine. Now, you have received a call, whether if you're going to be a parent or if you're going to be teaching. But you got a call, going to all the world and preach the good news to everyone. And when you talk about preaching to everyone, it's not like being a missionary or, going there and talk to everyone about, no, it's actually on our daily lives, on our examples, on, and this is really important, because this is the first step for us. This is our goodwill. We are willing to go there and preach to our children, to people. So this is the call that we received and we accepted. That's the first step for carrying with the Spiritist teachings. Your call, your personal experience with the Spiritist teachings, and being someone that's going to be the example, that's going to teach. So I'm going to be talking here both, as a parent and as a Spiritist teacher and educator. Yeah, educator. Because we don't instruct. I'm going to come this as well in other, a little bit further. So the first thing is the goodwill. We received the call, for some reason, your personal experience, we received this call and we accept it. So that's the first step for the zeal. Now, the second thing as well is, and this is I took just a little bit part of the Bezerra de Menezes Unification Orientation for the Spiritist Institution. Sorry about my pronunciation. From Brazilian Spiritist Federation. Now, there's the other thing with the zeal as well. It's essential, and this is not only for the Spiritist teaching as a Spiritist educator or parent, but also as a person, as a Spiritist. So it's for all of them, and it's really important. It's essential to maintain Spiritism, which was given to Allan Kardec by the divine messengers. And what they mean by that, we need to maintain in the way that we conserve, we preserve the teachings. We don't change. That means we don't put our opinion. We respect differences. And it's just like the image of holding the flower, the flowers there. If you hold too tight, you're gonna smash it and the flowers are gonna die. And if you hold too loose, the flower is gonna fall and you're not gonna have the flower. So you have to find a balance, hold exactly enough to protect this, to protect the Spiritist teachings. And that's a really, really, really important thing. You teach according to the Allan Kardec, the message that was passed to Allan Kardec, and of course according to the Jesus teachings as well, because Jesus was our utmost example. What he came here to do is to give, to pass all the message, to talks about the kingdoms of heaven and how we're gonna get there, and through his teachings, that if you change much or change our view, or we're going to, we're gonna go to a longer path, because we always have to come back to the right path. So that's why to maintain. And when we say maintain, it's not like being really attached or really, no, it has to be like this, can't be that, can't be that. No, is actually maintaining all, getting yourself knowing about it, respecting, and making sure that your opinions don't count, but you have to put this in the context of the new world, or the world we live in, so, and to understand this more in light of the Spiritism. So with this wrap up, the zeal, this is just a little introduction. I'm just gonna go. I took this one, the role of children's Spiritist education. Now, this I took from the orientation for the Spiritist Children's Education Action from the Brazilian Spiritist Federation. Now, this is the orientation for all the Spiritist educators, and I just organized a little bit myself, because there's no translation to English, so I translated myself and organized 2 things that I want to bring, because with the zeal with the zeal for the doctrine, to maintain the zeal of the doctrine while we teaching Spiritists on our children's in the Spiritist education, we need to understand the role. How is the role? Why we doing this? It's not just we do that because it says so. It's because it says go and preach the word. No, it's not that. And that's as I said, it's just a call. It's your goodwill. It's your experience that I want to do. I'm gonna do that. Now, we need to understand the primary objective and why we do that. So the role of children is Spiritist education. It has as a primary objective to contribute in building better human beings, always in accordance with Jesus' teachings and as described in the works of Allan Kardec, focusing on the triple aspect of Spiritism: philosophy, science, and religion. And it's very succinct, but it's very deep, because Spiritist education is not to form another Spiritist. No, it's not. It's not to. It's not just to spread the Spiritist, teachings. No, it's to form better human beings. It's to help the kids that came into this world with their mission. It's to help them succeed in their lives and become better, just like we as Spiritist educators are on the same path as well. We are trying to get better, to be better human beings, So there is no much I am this or you are that, we are all on the same level. Different ways, different paths, but we are all on the same direction, perfecting ourselves, getting better. And there's no other role for the Spiritist education than actually, build better human beings, And how do we do that? With Jesus' teachings, described in the works of Allan Kardec, and focusing on the triple aspects of the Spiritism, which I'll bring a little bit further as well, trying to explain, because this is gone in one of the axes that I'm not gonna talk much. Anyway, with this role, the Brazilian Spiritist Federation, they came up with these 3 axes of education, of Spiritist education. And I'm just gonna go to the next slide. And this is the Spiritist teachings axes, 3 axes that are important, and this will shape the doctrine, how how you care about, and how you preach, how you educate the children, your children, according to the Spiritist teachings. So the first thing, there's 3 words here: think, feel, and act, and it's very powerful and very, I would say, one complete order. It's always consequence. So think, when you think, we talk about your thinking, knowing the Spiritist teachings. When I talk about feel, it's our spiritual development. The Spiritism, the teachings, how you feel, how you're gonna develop this in yourself and with the children you are actually teaching. And then act, it's actually a consequence, because once you know about it, you have, evolved, you have developed yourself, you have, making an effort to become better, you're gonna act better. That's a social transformation. That's when we bring social transformation, when we work all together, And it's really, really important, because, as I said, one goes to the other, and they complement, and, they become just one thing that you do. And it's a process, continuous process, but it's not something like, oh, I'm gonna think, I'm gonna read, I'm gonna know everything about Spiritism, and then I'm gonna go on a path of self-development, and then I'll act, much better and everything. No, it's not like this. We know a little bit, we experience that, we act, and then we go back, oh, now I need to learn more. It's going forward and back, or maybe in a cycle. You go in a cycle in your whole life. It's not something you do and then, oh, I'm good, and now I can teach Spiritism as an educator, or anything. No, it's not. It's always a process, a cycle process that you go step by step, little by little. So going to the next slide, I'm gonna talk now each one axis a little bit, bring a little bit more information. Now, the first thing is know the spiritual teaching. And I like this part, and you know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Now, when we know the truth, and I'm not talking about the truth that, how can I put, in religious, too much religious way, I'm talking about the truth of you seek, that you immerse yourself, that you invest in, on yourself learning, in yourself development. That's the truth. Knowing about it, studying, invest on knowing about the Spiritist teachings, investing in reading again, and going to meetings, seeing videos, lives, and everything. This is all part of the entire life. Your entire life is you always learning. So the same way you do for yourself, you're gonna do as well for the kids. And the other things that we, the gospel according to Spiritism bring to us as well, it's one of the guidance for the divine spirits, the messengers. Spiritists love one another. That's the first precept. Educate yourself is the second. It's kind of parody, from Jesus' teachings, love God above all and everything. So it's just like adding a little bit more. We have to love, love God above all. But we have to love one another. We have to respect. And when we say love one another, it's respect the differences. Know that everyone's on a different path. And how we gonna do that? Educating ourselves, because that's the second. But we need to educate ourselves, not instruct, but work on our passions, on ourselves, to accept everyone, to accept the way it is, because we cannot change the person. The person has to change it. Everyone goes on their path. This is, my own path. I can only change myself through my experiences. And why this has to do with the Spiritism? Because it's also a path of self-development, self-knowledge, which will come is very handy with the next axle. But I want to talk a little bit more about. So we have, you seek the truth, you seek knowledge. You make sure you respect people, and then you educate yourself to respect that. The other things you need as well is to understand the triple aspect of the Spiritism. Why do we say, philosophy, science, and religion? Because it needs to be a balance. We know nothing in this world that is too much, it's good for you. Neither too less, it's good for you. You need to have a balance between them, and that's what's happened when you take too much to science, you become too skeptical. Or you become to the philosophy, you become maybe to philosophy, you become, not scientific. And when you get too much of this, you don't get a balance. And the Spiritism came, to actually bring them together. So this is a message, part of the message that I took from the unification orientation for the Spiritist institutions that Bezerra Menezes dictated to us through medianistics methods. And it's very interesting because it's very simple, but it's like we combine all together. Whoever is keen on science, cultivate in its dignity. Whoever is devoted to philosophy, that magnify his postulates, and whoever consecrates himself to religion, that divinizes his aspirations. But the Kardec base remains in everything and everyone. You're Spiritist. Kardec base is like a way for us to not go too much into one part or the other, Kardec base brings us all together. So if I am a bit more scientific, I go more for the facts, for the science, than actually philosophy or religion, But I know, that's the difference. I know that it can be only that. And I understand that they are together and one doesn't contradict the other. Although we think, most of people think that science contradicts religion, it doesn't. It's just the way we see. And, Kardec, when he combined this methodology of, asking in many medianistics the same question and seeing the answers and getting together. This is like a methodology that he combined and make say, oh, this is the right questions. This is something that has been asked and has been checked and cross-checked, double-checked. So it must be true, So that's something. It's not just something someone told you or it's written there. Then, sorry, Papai. Sorry about that. My little one just asking for help, Okay, just coming back on the the Spiritist teachings, and comprehend this triple aspect. I'm just going to wrap up here. It's important because you don't go too much to the fanaticism, because when you go too much to science or to philosophy or to religion, you become a bit blind or and you can conduct fanaticism, which is something that's not good, because fanaticism is when you believe that this is the only truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and it's not. Even the divine messengers, warned us through Kardec works that not even Spiritism is the whole truth. We don't think that this is the only truth. We know that every bit of religion, every bit of science, every bit of philosophy, there is a truth in there. And coming back to the knowledge, to know the truth, it's actually when we get into, when you read about, when you discuss with people, when you talk about. This is, getting to know the truth, the right truth, because truth, the only truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth is what you swear when you go into court. That's not your religion, it's just when you go to court, you have to be only the truth that you know, and your truth, it's not the same truth as the other part that's on on the court fight. So I don't want to get much in deep on this truth or not, but it's important, to seek for the truth, to know that you cannot be too much on one subject. And, you have to avoid a little bit, being the fanaticism. But how do we do that? Well, Kardec introduced us, Rationalize Faith. And this it's very, very important, because it's Rationalize Faith, when based on facts and logic, leaves no doubt. Then the person believes because they are certain, and no one can be certain unless they understand. This is why they are unshakable, because unshakable faith is that which can stand face to face with reason in all epochs of humanity. This is the gospel according to Spiritism. And what he's saying here, it's actually, you have a rationalized faith because you understand truly what's happening, the facts and the logic. It's not just because someone said that's the truth and then I have to follow. No. And that's part of knowing the Spiritist teachings. You seek your truth, but through a rationalized faith. You don't go blind. So because that's important. We see a lot of people going blind with religion, with science, and with philosophy. Don't get me wrong. It's not just religion that makes people blind. It's a lot of other things as well. So important for us to keep us, not going to the fanaticism road, but then keep ourselves learning, always constant learning, comprehend the facts in light of the Spiritism, when we have this rationalized faith, we understand why. It's not just, someone told me this, someone told me that. So, and when you know the Spiritist teachings and you seek your truth, you dedicate yourself to study, to accumulate your knowledge, you participate in many other, conferences or, networking. This, you are, it's just, as I said, it's only one of the axes, but you are making yourself a base for yourself and for the children you're gonna be, teaching, or motherhood and things. You make this base, a solid base. Of course, it's not just that one. This is just the part, but then you will be able to offer a good seed into a fertile soil, and the seed will grow, because you know how to answer. You have, rationalized this. That's the reason about it. That's the reason behind. It's not something, because it's saying that book, or it says in the other book, or someone, said that. It's because you understand. And that's the thing. That's the thinking. When we say think, don't just repeat. Don't just say, oh, someone told, I'm going to tell. No, thinking. That is teaching. This learning process, continuous process. The next axle that I'm going to talk about is about the spiritual development. And when you talk about spiritual development, it's your morals, your good behavior. It's how you're going to develop yourself as a better person, better yourself. Because you cannot teach children if you're not at least trying to become a little better, because it's your examples that count, not what you say. We know that as a parents, we know that is what our examples that, teach the children, not what we say. We tell them, they do exactly the opposite way. They'll go to bed, no, they go and take the electronics. So, so spiritual development is another axle, another very important. And I started with this one, this it's on the Spiritist book. It's question 919, and talks about tackling selfishness. A sage of antiquity has told to you, know thyself. So knowing ourselves, it's a really important path for our self-development, for our spiritual development, for our morals, but we don't just do that, we have to be, humble enough. And when I say humble, I mean not that I'm not worthy enough. Is that I know, exactly what says the Socratic paradox. I know that I know nothing. As much as we know, we just understand that we still have a lot of things to know. We're not gonna get at the end of this reincarnation, for example, knowing everything about the universe. We know that, So that's the thing. Being, taking the humility on that, on you always learning, always on the path for self-improvement. Knowing yourself, it's important for you, for your, it's one of the first steps for your spiritual development. But it's not the only one, education as well. Education, not intellectual, but moral one. And when I say exactly this one, not intellectual, the intellectual, it's about how you instruct yourself, how you develop your intellect. This is by reading, by getting to know. So the intellectual, it's more on the first axle. I'll talk about knowing the Spiritist teachings. The education we talk here, it's not intellectual, and but moral one, and not moral education through books, but the one that consists in the art of forming character. Moral education that creates habits, because education is the sum of acquired habits. And I like this. This is as well from the Spiritist book, question 685, is just a extract of the answer. I'm not going to talk about, because if you want, you can go there and say the question and the whole answer. But this is really important. This is something when you on the path of your spiritual development. It's not just enough to read. You need to transform yourself, transition yourself within to outside. And as I said, it's a continuous process. And you have to be open to knowledge as well. So when one of the examples that's very good is the glass upside down. If you leave the glass upside down and you pour water, the water is not going to go. It's go all around, but it's not in the glass. You need to leave the glass up, upwards, so the water can go in. That's with knowledge, with a spiritual development, you need to be open to that. You're not going to be just, you're not going to be, even all the reading and everything that you do, if you're not open to learning, if you're not, do this with humility, that you're always learning, that's a continuing process. It's not gonna help. You're not gonna develop yourself. And again, when I say that it's for ourselves, it's also for the children, because again, our example, it's always example. We educate by examples. We don't educate by saying this is instructions that we got in school as well. School is very good for instructing, for developing your intellect. But education is something you take throughout your whole life, and you're always learning. So, yeah. Now, after that, this is the third axle, and this is more a consequence of you got your Spiritist teachings, you learn about it, you commit yourself, you open up yourself, and you also go through your path of self-development, making sure you behave good, let's say that, constantly, or trying at least, because let's say no one's perfect, no one here is going to be the best teacher in the world, because we are on our own path of becoming better humans. But because we, as educators, we have this responsibility, because we have someone that just came in through reincarnation and needs our help. We have to take this seriously. We have to take with the utmost zeal to make sure we do it right, even though we know we're not perfect, because no one's perfect. We are, on planet Earth. We are not yet on, on the spiritual development that we can consider ourselves good beings. We are not yet. We're still selfish, and we need to tackle this. So, just to wrap up this part, social transformation, it will be exactly, when you know about yourself, you start your self-development. Social transformation is going to be a consequence. And I tell you, about this one as well. This part of the Spiritist book, and it's beautiful. All of you, souls of faith and goodwill, walk therefore with zeal and courage for the great labor of regeneration. For you will reap 100-fold the grain of wheat that you have sown. So it's not, this is like, if you worked hard enough, this is what you harvest, you're going to harvest a social transformation. And if you do that in yourself, the children that you're going to be involved in teaching and bringing, upward, it's going to see that in you, and they're going to learn that from you. So that is a very, very important point, zeal and courage, and always thinking, for the greater labor of the regeneration, because we are on the path of becoming a regeneration world. So we now are in the process of transformation, and we need to do that, not only just for ourselves, for our children as well, so we can help them in any way we can. It's through education that generations are transformed and perfected. For a new society, new men are needed. For this reason, education from childhood is the paramount importance. So this is part of the social transformation. You dedicate yourself to know the Spiritist teachings. You dedicate yourself to self-development, developing within your transformation. You're gonna impact this on society, on the children, on everywhere you go. I know that looks like perfect, but remember, we are not perfect yet, and this process is not going to be linear, in a line, it's gonna be a continuous process. So you go from back and forward, back and forward, back and forward on a cycle way. You go up, you go down. It's never gonna be something easy as well, So social transformation, that this is important, so your habits become your good example. If you dedicate yourself to learn, to transform, to become better, you will see, your habits will become a good experience. And, you're going to act more on behalf of others, on behalf of, the well-being of others. And this is the path of spiritual development, because you start to be a little less selfish. You think of others. This is not, being less selfish. This part it's very interesting, and I took as well from the orientation for the Spiritist Children's Education Action from the Brazilian Spiritist Federation. Spiritism will take inevitably consequence to moral improvement. This improvement will lead to practice of charity. And from charity, the feeling of fraternity will be born. When men imbued with these ideas, they will conform the institution to them, and as soon as they will carry out naturally and without agitation the desirable reforms. So what's this saying? Like when you walk, through the axles that I just spoke, you're gonna learn, you're gonna improve yourself. Social transformation will come. You will practice charity, and one of the things that without charity there is no salvation. That's one of the theme for the spiritual children. We practicing charity, but why do we do that? Well, the feeling of fraternity is one of them, because when you have this feeling of fraternity, you actually experience true happiness, and you learn about it, and you are aware of the others around you, and put in the other shoes, and see what, how difficult life it is for some people, and how lucky you are for being able to, for not passing for all the trials and everything. So, and this is a social transformation, because it's when we got social transformation, when we go, with, as a society, as a community, it's really thankful to see that, to learn that, when we truly experience, fraternity, truly experience, you do charity for the sake of, to help others, not for you to feel better, it's just, to truly help. You become, a social transformation yourself, and you act on behalf of others, for the others, and you become less selfish. So I know my speech today, it's more about, how we get better, but this is important for every Spiritist education. Every Spiritist education, to know that we always have to be aware that we need to dedicate ourselves to the teachings. We need to develop, to make ourselves better being, and social transformation will come naturally, but it's something that we need to look at. And when we take this to the children, how we gonna pass to the children this, we think in an activity to get knowledge of the, remember the importance, the role is to make, to make better human beings. We're not here to preach a religion. We're here to make better humans, like we are as well. We are trying to improve ourselves. So that's when, as I understand, as a spiritist, you work on yourselves. So that you become. And when you do this become your truth. This become you. And this become a good habit, a good example as well. Of course, remembering always, we're not perfect. We're gonna slip away. We're gonna do things that is not supposed to be done in this way. So we don't pressure ourselves to be perfect all the time, because that's the importance. We don't pressure. We actually move to change, to make ourselves better. And that's one of the things. So, like, for example, we're gonna do a classroom with the children, how we're going to work on those three axes. First, the knowledge. We're going to bring the knowledge, going to bring a part of the, that's going to go the progress and the law of progress. So we're going to bring a little bit of knowledge of that one. But then how we going to make them feel that we need to progress? Or bring an activity. We bring, interactive activity. And then how are you going to find the social transformation? They're going to tell in school about their children. I remember my son in the school, and he actually, the teacher asked me about, how does, how does he get this part to always think ahead of the others, And my son was really good for that, and he was telling the children about, because one say, "Oh, I don't believe in God. God doesn't exist." And my son definitely, not even in his own said, but then if you didn't believe in God, you wouldn't be here. Something so simple, and I didn't tell him that. He actually understood in this way when we talk about, God created all things, So he understood that, I didn't need to tell him that you if God does not, if God didn't exist, you would not be here. He actually got that through the activities, through this. I'm not telling I'm perfect. I've done a lot of mistakes, but this was a good example I had, that I'm gonna take all my life, feeling proud, a little bit proud, and about this. But that's the thing, the transformation come within when you actually commit yourself to this, and this is part of the zeal. Use your head, your thinking, the knowledge, use your heart. So make sure you feel and you pass this feeling, and your hands, you have to walk with your hands. That's the social transformation. This is the Spiritist teachings and how you zeal with the Spiritist teachings. This is, it's really, really important. And I think, the three axes actually concentrate this part of the zeal. And again, going back to the flower, if we go too tight, we ruin and we smash the flower. But if you go too loose, the flowers fall off and you don't have flower anymore. So we have to just go on the right time. And how we do that, we always have to be aware. We always have to learn, to know that's a process. We continue the process. We work on this, on the transformation of ourselves, and and it becomes natural and much more natural. Anyway, that's all I had to say about. Hope you liked, but I would like to finish with this one. It's from May as well. It's beautiful as well, and it's very, very, very important. Hopefully I have a little bit time. For humanity to reach a better level, education must associate intelligence with morality. When we say morality, we don't say like guilty, moral, this, no. We say our good behavior, our improvement, our path for self-development. So intelligence, it's when you instruct yourself, and morality, it's your behavior, how you behave, If you associate those two things, to ourselves and to our children, we're gonna get a better humanity, because it's now. We have to do it now. The call is now. We are on the transition at the moment, and we know we're going to be a better world, a world of the regeneration. So it is a call, and it's the utmost importance to maintain the zeal with the doctrine and the Spiritist teachings. So that's all for me. Thank you very much. I stop screening, and I'll give to you.
Juliana, thank you so much for your explanation. We don't have so much time, but we have a question. So if you can answer, Mateus is asking, is it possible, no, sorry, it's how do you preserve the teaching as the world changes a lot?
Well, I think getting this part is actually keeping yourself with the Spiritist teachings. It is difficult, but the Spiritist teachings talks about exactly, especially in Genesis and Allan Kardec. All the books talks about this time that we passing, the transformation, the transition, the global transformation. So it's important to keep yourself, knowing more about, and always reading and rereading. I would say as well, continue on your path for self-development, but it's challenging. It's challenging. We with kids, we see how difficult it's been. Oh, sorry, I have to look here. How difficult it's been with the situation we pass in here. And we know as a Spiritist, this probably is not the worst more things will come. Hopefully we're gonna give, another 10, 20 years for us to, let me pass this one, let's go to the next transformation. What's gonna be, So, but yeah, keep ourselves. We know that, all the people that are passing due to the COVID are being assisted. That's something, really comforting for us. And yeah, we have to get to the, the basic books of Allan Kardec will help you deal with that one. Hopefully I answered. If anyone wants to add anything, feel free.
Thank you, Juliana. Chris, we cannot hear you.
Oh, yes. So in the name of the Childhood, Youth and Family Commission, we want to say thank you for your presence and thank you for Juliana for your talk. And I would like to say thanks for this opportunity and hope that this and the upcoming events will help you develop the Spiritism childhood, youth, and family in the community and in the country you're living in. We will see you next time. Juliana, you have some considerations or not? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'll just unmuting thing. I would like to thank you all, Karina, Tatiana, Cristiane for this opportunity. Hopefully I was able to to do it in the same, to fill your expectations. And thank you for this opportunity because this is always a learning for me as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Juliana.
And that's it.
Okay, I will do a final prayer. Okay. Dear benefactors and Heavenly Father, as we come to the end of our time together, we thank you for what has been accomplished here today. May we put into practice what we have discussed and learned. May the matters discussed serve as a catalyst to move us forwards and cause us to advance and see growth in all areas of our lives. May these prayers reach all brothers and sisters who are sick, feeling alone, without shelter, and without food. May this prayer trigger them the sense of the true charity and solidarity among all of us. So be it. Amen. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you all.